Hey, I'm Peter Hamilton, and you're watching a documentary business webinar. And today we're going to visit the exciting developments accomplished by Durban, South African-based NEWF. And our guest is Pragna-Parsotam Kok, who is the co-founder and co-executive director of NEWF. Welcome. It's lovely to have you here with an update on all of your good works. Hi, Pragna.
Well, thank you, Peter. It is so good to be here, as always, chatting to you. I mean, you've been our supporter since the very beginning, since we were just an idea. So it's always good being back here and talking to you.
Well, it's always been an honor to encourage yourself and Noel, and you have energy to boot. What you've accomplished is extraordinary. So, I went to the second NEWF Congress in Durban, and it was really one of the highlights of my professional career. So, where this is several years later, that was pre-COVID. Why don't you tell us about what you accomplished this year for your NEWF Congress?
Peter, things have changed quite a bit since you were at Congress in 2018. Then we were in one little small room at the Durban Botanic Gardens.
Exactly.
Uh, Yeah, this year we had over 300 delegates that attended the NEWF Congress, and things have changed a little bit in that now we're a new fellow summit and a congress. And this means that we bring all the fellows from across the continent that have participated in our labs and capacity enhancement initiatives, and we bring them together for a few days prior to Congress to really hone in on some workshops and additional industry knowledge that they may need as a precursor to Congress when global industry speakers then arrive and we talk about, broader, larger topics.
Well, let's start with the fellows then. How many fellows attended and how were they selected?
There were maybe about 150 fellows from across 29 countries in Africa. And then about an additional 12 that came from South America after some South to South collaborations that we had done. Fellows are usually selected by, a call out, who's available, who's not available, those that are working in the industry and have projects to showcase. But at the moment, our fellow database is over 330 from 32 countries across Africa. And that excludes global fellows from South America, the USA, and the diaspora, and India as well.
And
Um,
so the fellows are selected. Do they come on a scholarship basis? As their assistants? Do they get assistance from youth?
Absolutely. So the fellows that attend, uh, we cover all their costs. So the accreditation, the accommodation, the travel, all of that is covered so that we know they're able to be there and commit to their time at the Fellow Summit and Congress as well.
Gee, that's amazing. And how many are from South Africa versus other regions in Africa?
That's a good question, Peter. I'd have to look that up. When we first started, South Africa was our largest fellow database. But as we've grown, really, East Africa has really become very prominent, as well as Central and West Africa now. And what we've done with our Africa Refocus program, which is a collaboration with National Geographic Society. It's a 5-year program, and each year we focused our labs and our efforts on a different region on the continent. So we started with Southern Africa. We then focused on East Africa, and then Central Africa and West Africa. And this year, actually, our focus is North Africa. So that targeted approach allows us to really grow and build a fellow database across the continent.
Wow, that's a really wide net. Congratulations, and congratulations on your funding by the National Geographic Society. What an accomplishment that is. So the fellows arrive before the Congress, and what happens? What do they do, and what do you do for them?
We do yoga in the morning. No,
Great
that's
start.
it's true. We do ensure some kind of, internalization and moments to reflect. Um, Fellow Summit is really focused on pitching workshops, personal development workshops. So that can be anything from, we have a very popular session that we do with the fellows that's called vision boarding, that's run by, we love to call her Auntie B, Barbara Stradom, that really helps fellows understand where their goals are, where they want to go, where they see themselves. And then there's also things that focus, how to write a bio, how to promote yourself on social media, how to pitch your projects. Then there's also cinematography focused workshops. So it really hones in on individual skills and growing in the areas where fellows see themselves, fitting into the stream that they fit into. So, is it technical skills like cinematography and editing, or is it producing, or is it, personal development? Where do they want to grow? And to those, on those 2 days of Fellow Summit, they're able to pick and choose really what their target and focus areas are.
It sounds great. Are most of them newbies, or do you have a mixture of newcomers to the business, hopefuls, and moderately experienced producers?
So the fellow database itself includes fellows that are more experienced, that have produced more content, to those that are just starting out and perhaps have participated in an ocean access program of ours, so coming in as a scientist and not really a storyteller. And that's also why one of the major key things that we focus on at Fellow Summit is also story development and how to build a good story, so that the scientists are also able to connect within the storytelling world. And then there's peer-to-peer mentorship that organically happens, and it's such a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, sounds really great. And when I came to NEWF, as we said before COVID, it really impressed me that we had young African scientists and mainly women, which was really great, sharing their stories and inspiring filmmakers. And you've expanded that, so good on you. So the Fellows Summit is a couple of days, and then Congress itself starts. And so Congress, you have kind of expert seminars, expert presentations, how to pitch, and what were some of the highlights of this year's Congress?
So Congress brings in international speakers, those that are working in the industry, across natural history. So we had Wildstar from Bristol come and talk about, producing for natural history. We had Patrick Morris, who's, a really established natural history filmmaker, attend and have an in-conversation discussion with Noel on stage, really allowing the fellows and other delegates in the room to connect with what is happening at a global level in natural history and wildlife filmmaking. But I think there's also other elements to Congress beyond just, really honing in on natural history. A lot of discussion happened this year about leaning into our memory, our collective memory, as Africans, and how we tell those stories. We had Kamal Siddiqui from Diving with a Purpose come in and talk about how, the transatlantic slave trade and how that impacts ancestry and memory and how we belong and how that impacts the stories that we tell. So there's quite a diverse approach to the programming that happened with Congress this year. Things that really talked to very specific global industry discussions, from distribution to production to editing. Then there was also that element of meaning and how we share stories and how we tell them and then why we tell them.
So it's really a broad kind of intellectual buffet as well as practical skills. That's how I experienced. So you've expanded that too. That's really interesting. So I've forgotten the number for the moment. You had 300 fellows. How many delegates? that
So
were out?
there were approximately 150 fellows that
Yep.
attended. And then the balance were made up of speakers and general
There,
delegates.
there
Yeah,
300 there, and you're right opposite the beach in Durban, correct?
that's
Or
right.
close
Right
to the
opposite
beach.
the beach in Durban. Wake up in the morning, see a beautiful East Coast sunrise. Yeah, always beautiful.
Beautiful swimming too. So distribution must be a real challenge. I mean, when I first went to South Africa in the teens, uh, the SABC, the South African Broadcasting Authority Commission, was kind of discombobulated, to use the word. There was not a lot of commissioning happening, and there isn't a strong tradition of public broadcasting anywhere else in Africa that I know about. So, for the producers that you work with, what kind of focus do you apply to distribution, and where do they look for opportunities for the films that they're creating?
Yeah, Peter, I think that distribution model is almost twofold. So there's the one where, yes, producers and fellows do want to have their their work broadcast internationally. Um, but there's also the digital approach, which is really, I mean, we all know how much digital is now, taking over. Last year, 2024, fellows worked on two Wild Hope episodes that were both released last year. Wild Hope TV, produced by HHMI Tanglebank Studios, and that did really, really well. And soon we'll be releasing a third episode with them. So fellows have that access to get onto, digital programming that is doing quite well. And then there's the other avenue of also creating local audiences, because we really still want to do that. And I think that really depends on who fellows are making their films for. So are they making them for broadcast? Are they making them for a festival market, a festival run, or are they making it to take this content to, if it's scientists, are they making it for a local community that they are working within, and trying to share that science in a more, you know, relatable way so that they can connect and feel with the science. So I think there's this multifaceted model of being able to distribute, um, within small communities, digital, and then as well as trying to always, talk to international distributors and broadcasters to get the content profile there as well.
And did you have gatekeepers turning up of substance and interacting with the filmmakers? Were
I
the
know what you
buyers
mean.
in attendance?
The focus at Congress isn't really having that market element of trying to buy and sell, right?
Right.
And that tends to happen on a more one-on-one basis. There've been talk before, do we want to become a market? But we're still trying to figure that out. And is it the right approach for us? We don't know, because that importance of profiling the work that is being done seems to be taking prevalence.
Well, a lot of my experience is that a lot of the buyers have a keen eye on youth and are very supportive of your initiatives and are looking to support projects that come out of NEWF. So coming back to NEWF and your plans, what's next? What are you focusing on between now and the next Congress in March, April 2026? Can you believe we're that far along?
2026, yeah. The next couple of months are incredibly busy. We've had some great developments that have taken place over the last few months since Congress this year. Peter, we have 38 interns from the local Sodwana Bay community that are based at our center, at our Ekaya, or Storytelling Research and Dive Center in Sodwana Bay in northern Zululand. These 40 interns or 38 interns are, working between diving and media and storytelling and, catering and maintenance. And so it's really, trying to build an industry that works and supports the storytelling initiative that we have, right? Then a couple of weeks ago, we were just certified as an official PADI educational facility. And what this means for us is that we're able to certify internally the marine scientists and storytellers and cinematographers as accredited divers.
Well, that's
So
fantastic.
really becoming a self-sustaining underwater storytelling platform. So that was really, really great news for us, and really going to help us as we develop our ocean access program in this year and for the following years to come. In the next couple of months, we have a game design lab coming up, which is super exciting. We're working with National Geographic explorer Gautam Shah and Jake Mannion to really develop how we tell stories and give storytellers an opportunity to partner with game developers and really allow us to interact with storytelling in a different way. Peter, about 3 billion people in the world play video games.
Yeah.
So what better way to, send messages of climate change, of conservation out there into the world, use what's there at people's fingertips. So that's happening in the next couple of months. We're really excited to see what the cohorts that are part of this program develop, and the winning, not the winning cohort, but the cohort will have an opportunity to pitch for 10,000 USD grant to then develop this game idea further and possibly make it a
Well, so
reality.
there's a financial prize too. So just to back up for our viewers, you have a really beautiful facility which is a year-round, training resource in northern KwaZulu-Natal province, north of Durban, and that's close to the Mozambique border. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the facility and how that's evolving?
The center is called Ekaya, which means home in isiZulu. It is our storytelling, research, and dive center. What that means in essence is that it's almost a residency house where fellows are able to come in. We host all our labs from Ekaya. Just last week, we hosted a Kickstarter story development lab. Next week, we're hosting another story development lab. All fellows that are currently actively producing short films that we provided grants towards. They have a year to complete these films. So by next year, Congress will hopefully be watching over 15 films being short films being showcased, produced by storytellers, and many of them are scientists too. So we host all of those workshops and labs from Ekaya. We then also have the ocean access and dive center element. We have a dive pool that goes down to 3 meters so that we're able to conduct the dive training. We're currently building a post-production facility that includes a music studio and edit rooms so that filmmakers are able to come in and have the complete ecosystem of being able to develop their stories, edit their films. The composers can compose the score. It's a full, as I mentioned, a residency house that fulfills that whole ecosystem. And we support, filmmakers from across the continent to be able to come and use this space as we put these labs and capacity enhancement initiatives together. And then we directly work with the Sodwana Bay local community in many ways, not just from an employment perspective, but really ensuring that there's community development taking place at the same time. Just last week, we had about 10 local Sodwana Bay youth qualify as open water certified divers, and diving is the biggest industry in Sodwana Bay, so it's really a good thing to be able to support the community in that way.
It's a wonderful achievement. How many staff do you have full-time?
At Ekaya?
Full-time just for the organization, for NEWF and its various activities.
So outside of Ekaya staff, we are about 6 core staff, including myself and Noel, who are fully in the day-to-day running and operations. And then at Ekaya, we have about 5 to 6 staff as well that are there permanently based, that manage the operations from chef to housekeeping to maintenance to the dive center itself.
No, it's quite a team, and just the scope of both of training and of inspiring work that you do is, to me, it's continually remarkable. As we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, Noel pitched me on this concept at a World Congress in Hong Kong, and it was really a back of envelope vision that he had as a producer, independent producer. And I thought to myself, he's a really good guy, but let's see how this works out, because we hear a lot of pitches, and here we are with a really excellent staff, facility, international congress, deep relationship with Nat Geo. So let's just finish on the financial note. I heard you say you're in the midst of a 5-year plan. Have you been affected by the USAID international cutbacks from America or from the United States under the present government, or are you financially independent?
We have not, thankfully, and our collaboration with National Geographic is continuing, so that is really positive. We have 1 more year left of Africa Refocused as it is now, and that discussions need to happen as to what happens after this first 5 years is up, and those are discussions that will happen, and we're positive that Africa Refocused and this collaboration with NEWF and National Geographic Society will continue after that as well. We are looking into models, Peter, of how we become self-sustaining. How does content become income generating? How does Ekaya become income generating? We're looking at Ekaya is, you could say, in an oceanscape. It feeds those needs, and we're looking at starting up a bush Ekaya, which is based in a game reserve, that will allow us to directly address having fellows placed in a game reserve, being able to film for long hours, and really upskilling from that perspective in terms of the pure natural history filmmaking, and that also opening other avenues for potential revenue generation. And so we're having all these discussions, right now as to how we build our funding models, how do we become self-sustaining, and still always create content throughout all of this.
Well, I have a great deal of confidence that you'll pull this off. So, viewers, I interviewed Noel at the beginning of 2025. So there's another webinar that looks at NEWF. We also, you'll see when we post this interview on Documentary Business, we've covered the earlier NEWF congresses, and that'll be worth reading if you want to go deeper. And we'll interview. We'll produce a webinar with Nat Geo Society with a bit of luck in the next few months too, Pragna. So my final word: congratulations! Incredible, a range of services and inspiring messages that you're able to provide for the community, And it's great to have you on board, and we'll continue to encourage you in every way we can. So thank you, Pragna.
Thank you, Peter. Like I said, always good to be here and chatting to you.
Thanks.